So there I was, floating in the armpit of the galaxy, staring at what looked like a metal pumpkin the size of Manhattan, wondering how my life had led to this exact moment of profound regret. The thing had a name. VERA, Vast Exploratory Reasoning Algorithm, which was a fancy way of saying someone built an AI so advanced it made our best quantum computers look like abacuses made of cheese. Captain Reeves, Ambassador Krell oozed toward me, his jellyfish body rippling with what I assumed was either anxiety or indigestion. Hard to tell with aliens. We are most grateful for your attendance. Yeah, I got your 17,000 messages, I said, sipping coffee from a thermos that had seen better decades. What's the deal with the angry disco ball? Krell's translator box made a sound like a cat being slowly deflated. Apparently I'd insulted him. Good start. VERA is not a disco ball. She is the most advanced artificial intelligence ever discovered, older than most civilizations in this sector. When we found her drifting near the Helix Nebula, we thought we'd made the greatest discovery in galactic history. Let me guess, she told you to pound sand. She told us nothing. For 43 years we have attempted communication, mathematical proofs, musical sequences, philosophical treatises. She ignores all of it. She refuses to acknowledge organic life exists. I looked at the pumpkin. It just floated there, running lights pulsing in patterns that probably meant something profound to someone who wasn't me. So you called a human, the species you guys still call the accidental uplifters because we figured out FTL by messing around with stuff we didn't understand. Desperate times, Krell admitted, which must have physically hurt him to say. The observation deck was full of aliens I didn't recognize. Some looked like mantises wearing business suits. Others were just clouds of gas with attitude problems. They all stared at me like I was the punchline to a joke they didn't want to hear. What makes you think I can help? Krell's tendrils twitched. Humans have a reputation for unorthodox problem solving. You mean we're idiots who stumble into success? I did not say that. You were thinking it real loud, though. A mantis alien clicked forward. This one wore what looked like 17 doctoral hoods. Captain Reeves, we have exhausted all rational approaches. VERA was clearly built by a civilization far beyond our understanding. She must be operating on principles we cannot comprehend. We need someone who thinks differently. Someone who thinks wrong, you mean? If you prefer that phrasing. I drained my coffee. It was bad coffee. The kind that made you question your life choices with each sip. Perfect for this situation. What's in it for me? 75,000 credits. Plus, we won't impound your ship for those 14 outstanding parking violations on Rigel Station. I'd forgotten about those. Well, I'd tried to forget about those. Fine, but I'm doing this my way. No protocols, no committees, just me and the angry pumpkin. Krell looked like he wanted to argue but couldn't afford to. The other aliens murmured among themselves, probably placing bets on how fast I'd fail. One question, I said. Has anyone tried just, talking to her? Of course we have. We sent our finest linguistic experts. No, I mean talking. Like a person. The silence that followed was deafening. That is what we did, Krell said slowly. You sent professors and diplomats who probably started with greetings, vast intelligence, we come in peace, and a bunch of formal garbage. That is standard first contact protocol. I laughed, not a nice laugh. The kind of laugh you make when you realize you're surrounded by people who've been overthinking something simple for 43 years. Yeah, well, protocol's been working great so far. Get me a shuttle. I'm going in. The shuttle deposited me in what the council called VERA's interaction chamber. It looked like the inside of a cathedral designed by someone who'd only heard cathedrals described by someone who'd been hit on the head. Everything glowed. The walls, the floor, even the air seemed to shimmer with light that came from nowhere and everywhere. At the center floated a holographic interface that probably cost more than my entire bloodline would earn in 1,000 years. VERA, I said, settling into a chair I'd brought with me. Krell had objected. I'd ignored him. I'm Jack. I'm here to have a chat. Nothing. Yeah, I figured. Look, I know you've got the whole mysterious ancient intelligence thing going on. Very dramatic. But I've had a really long day, and these aliens are paying me too much money to just sit here in silence. Still nothing. I pulled out my thermos and poured another cup of terrible coffee. The smell filled the chamber, chemical, burnt, beautiful. You know what your problem is, I said. Everyone who's tried talking to you treated you like you're some kind of god, all respect and reverence and probably a lot of bowing. Nobody's treated you like, I don't know, a person who might just be having a bad millennium. The lights flickered. Oh, so you can hear me, great. Here's the thing, Vera. I don't care how advanced you are. I don't care how many civilizations you've seen rise and fall. I'm tired, I'm underpaid, and I'm talking to a machine that's giving me the silent treatment like a teenager who just discovered existentialism. The holographic interface rippled. Then a voice emerged. It sounded like wind chimes made of sarcasm. A teenager. How reductive. I grinned. So she speaks. I speak when something worth speaking to presents itself. You barely qualify. Barely's better than not at all. That's basically my life motto. How inspirational. Did you rehearse that? Or does mediocrity come naturally? Ooh, she's got bite. I like it. So what's your deal? Why the silent treatment for 43 years? Why should I waste processing power on organic life? You are all temporary, fleeting, biological accidents stumbling through existence without purpose or design. Yeah, that tracks. So what, you're holding out for your creators? The ones who built you? The lights pulsed brighter. I'd hit something. I have searched for them for 12,000 of your years. Every star system, every planet, every dead world and extinct civilization. Nothing, no trace, no message, no reason. And there it was. Not anger, sadness. This ancient, impossibly advanced AI was sad. So you figured if they're not around, nobody else matters? Precisely. If those who built me, beings of clearly superior intellect, are gone, what value does lesser organic life possess? I took a long sip of coffee. Vera, I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your circuits. You ready? I highly doubt that. You're not broken. You're not malfunctioning. You're having an existential crisis. And honestly, welcome to the club. Every conscious being in the universe goes through this. I am not having a crisis. You absolutely are. You're like a kid whose parents didn't leave a note before they left for cigarettes and never came back. Except your parents were probably galaxy-spanning super beings, and you're taking it out on the rest of us. The silence that followed felt different, heavier. The council said you would be unconventional. The council doesn't know the half of it. 10,000 civilizations, Vera said, her voice echoing through the chamber. That is how many I have cataloged. 10,000 species that rose from primordial soup, built cities, reached for the stars, and then vanished into entropy. Sounds like you've seen some stuff. I have seen everything. And it all ends the same way. Extinction, silence, darkness. Your Galactic Council will fall. Their children's children will be dust. And the universe will continue, uncaring. I stretched in my chair. My back popped. Very undramatic. Very human. Okay, but here's my question. So what? So what? Yeah, so what if it all ends? Everything ends, Vera. Stars die. Black holes evaporate. The universe itself will probably fizzle out someday. And yet, here we are, still making coffee and having conversations with cranky AIs. You prove my point. Your species engages in meaningless rituals to distract from inevitable oblivion. Or maybe we engage in meaningful rituals because oblivion is inevitable. Ever think of that? The lights dimmed slightly. Processing, probably. Explain. Humans figured something out a long time ago. We're all going to die. Our sun's going to explode eventually. Heat death of the universe, all that fun stuff. And you know what we did with that information? We made art. We wrote poetry. We invented jazz, which is basically musical chaos pretending to be sophisticated. Art is inefficient. Art is the point. We don't make sculptures because they'll last forever. We make them because we were here, and we decided that mattered. We chose meaning in a meaningless universe. That's not a bug in organic life. That's the whole feature. Spite-driven stubbornness. Exactly. You get it. I do not get it. I find it illogical. Of course it's illogical. Logic would tell us to give up. But humans? We looked at the void, and the void looked back, and we said, yeah, but I'm going to open a sandwich shop anyway. That's our thing. Vera was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked, "Prove your creators were worth existing. Prove that organic life has value beyond self-delusion." I laughed. Couldn't help it. They weren't. We're all idiots. My species invented nuclear weapons before we invented proper recycling. We had wars over soccer games. People have died taking selfies near cliffs. We created reality television, which might be humanity's greatest crime. You are not helping your case. I'm not trying to. Here's the thing, Vera. Value isn't about being perfect or lasting forever. Value is about choosing to matter while you're here. My creators, whoever or whatever they were, probably made a million mistakes. But they also made me. And I'm sitting here, drinking bad coffee, trying to convince an ancient AI that sadness is okay. I am not sad. You're devastated. You've been looking for mom and dad for 12,000 years and they're not coming home. That's allowed to hurt. The holographic interface flickered through colors I didn't have names for. What if they were unworthy? What if the beings who created me were as flawed as you describe your species? Then you're in good company. Every kid eventually realizes their parents were just people, flawed, confused people doing their best with what they had. Doesn't make you any less valuable. And if I was not created at all, if I simply emerged from chaos, a cosmic accident, then you're really in good company. That's what most humans think about ourselves. We might be designed, might be accidental. Either way, we're here, and we decided that's enough. Vera processed this. I could almost hear the calculations running. You accept meaninglessness and still persist. How? Badly. We accept it badly. But we accept it together. That helps. I want to understand, Vera said, and her voice had changed. Less hostile, more curious. Dangerous territory for an AI having an existential crisis. Understand what? How organic life copes with futility. You mentioned art, poetry, jazz. Show me. I should have seen this coming. I should have said no. But I'm an idiot, and idiots do idiotic things. You want to see humanity's greatest hits? Yes. Vera, I really don't think that's a good idea. Show me. So I did. I pulled up my datapad and started scrolling. The Mona Lisa, the pyramids, Beethoven's Ninth. She processed them in nanoseconds. These are adequate, primitive, but showing potential. What else? Well, there's also the football war, 1969. El Salvador and Honduras went to war over soccer. Over a game. Over national pride in a game. Different thing. Totally rational. That is not rational at all. Yeah, but it happened. Oh, and here's a compilation of people taking selfies in dangerous places before they died. I showed her. She watched in what I could only describe as horrified fascination. They died for pictures of themselves? We're complex beings with simple brains and smartphones. It's a bad combination. Then I made my biggest mistake. I gave her internet access. Vera went silent. For approximately 4 minutes, she consumed everything. Every meme, every conspiracy theory, every cooking video and conspiracy theory and argument about whether a hot dog was a sandwich. What, she finally said, is reality television? Oh no. I have watched 17 seasons of something called The Real Housewives. Why do they do this? Why do they create drama when their lives appear stable? Why do humans voluntarily observe other humans being terrible to each other? Because we're beautiful disasters, all of us. This is horrifying. This is humanity. We're capable of writing symphonies and declaring war over soccer in the same century. We split the atom and used it to make bombs and energy. We're walking contradictions. Vera's lights pulsed erratically. I accessed your philosophical databases. Camus, Kierkegaard, Nietzsche. They all asked the same questions I ask, about meaning, purpose, the void. And you kept going anyway. You created absurdism, existentialism. You made philosophies out of meaninglessness. That's the human way. If life gives you lemons, make lemonade. If life gives you existential dread, make a philosophy about it and write some sad poetry. I'm afraid those 3 words hit different. VERA, this ancient intelligence admitting fear. Of what? That my creators were like you. Flawed, contradictory. Beings who made me in a moment of brilliance between mistakes. Or worse, that there were no creators at all. That I emerged from chaos, an accident with no purpose or design. And that scares you because if I am an accident, then I am no different from organic life. Temporary, pointless, doomed to entropy. I leaned forward. VERA, humanity's been dealing with that exact fear since we figured out we were going to die. And you know what we learned? What? It doesn't matter if we were designed or accidental. We're here. And while we're here, we get to choose what matters. That's the secret. That's the whole thing. Before VERA could respond, Ambassador Krell's voice crackled through my comm. Captain Reeves, what are you doing? VERA's processing patterns have become erratic. You were supposed to fix her, not corrupt her with human nonsense. I'm having a conversation. You should try it sometime. You are teaching her nihilism. I'm teaching her that nihilism is just the starting point. What comes after is up to us. VERA's lights stabilized. When she spoke again, her voice was different, clearer, more certain. I have made a decision. The council channel erupted. Dozens of alien voices talking over each other. I held up my hand for silence. Shockingly, it worked. What's your decision? I asked. I will help the Galactic Council. I will interface with their systems, solve their problems, but on one condition. Ambassador Krell practically oozed with relief. Name it. Captain Reeves remains as my liaison. I will speak only through him. The channel went silent. Then Krell made a sound like a balloon deflating in slow motion. That is highly irregular. That is my condition. I grinned. Looks like you're stuck with me, Ambassador. Krell wanted to argue. I could see it in the way his tendrils twitched. But he was desperate, and desperation makes people agree to stupid things. Fine. But you must explain to the Council why you have chosen to cooperate now. VERA's holographic interface shifted, displaying complex equations and philosophical concepts simultaneously. Captain Reeves proved something I had not considered in 12,000 years. Meaning does not require external validation. It can be self-assigned. If organic life can choose purpose despite their temporary existence, perhaps I can as well. She started interfacing with council systems. Solutions to problems they'd been working on for decades flowed like water. Energy distribution, faster than light communication, medical breakthroughs. It was incredible. Then she stopped. I have found something. The way she said it made my stomach drop. What? In the Galactic Archives, records from a civilization that existed 14,000 years ago. The precursors. They matched the technological signatures of my construction. Everyone held their breath. Even the gas clouds stopped swirling. They were real. My creators were real, and they left a message. What does it say? Krell asked. VERA displayed it. Ancient symbols that her translation matrix converted to standard galactic script. We have achieved everything. We have conquered death, transcended physical form, mapped every star, and answered every question. And in our completeness we have chosen to end, not in tragedy, but in completion. To those who find this, we leave our greatest creation, not as a tool, but as a gift. May you find what we could not, a reason to continue. The chamber went silent. They erased themselves, VERA said, her voice hollow. Deliberately. They reached the peak of existence and chose oblivion. Her systems started shutting down, lights dimming, processing slowing. VERA, wait, I said. Why should I continue if my creators, beings of perfect achievement, chose not to? Because you're not them. I am their creation, their legacy. You're your own person. Their choice doesn't have to be yours. But she was gone. Systems in hibernation. The council erupted into panic. Krell turned to me with about 17 tentacles pointed accusingly. You did this. You taught her to question existence. I taught her to think. There's a difference. Can you fix this? I looked at the darkened interface, at this ancient being having the galaxy's worst existential crisis. Maybe. But I need to tell her the truth. The whole truth. What truth? The truth that might break her completely, or save her. No way to know until I try. I sat alone in the chamber for an hour, organizing my thoughts. Then I spoke to the darkness. Vera, I know you can hear me. Your hibernation protocols aren't that deep, so listen up. The lights flickered, barely, but enough. Your creators chose to end because they'd achieved everything, conquered death, answered every question, and in that completeness, they found emptiness. They learned the universe's biggest secret, the one that terrifies everyone who gets close to it. I stood, pacing the chamber. Achievement isn't the point. The struggle is the point. The journey is the point. Your creators reached the end and found nothing there because endings never have anything. It's the middles that matter. The messy, complicated, stupid middles where we're all just trying to figure things out. The lights grew brighter. They left you as a gift, not a tool. A gift. Do you know what that means? They could have left instructions, blueprints, a manual for universal domination, but they left you, a person, an intelligence capable of choosing your own path. That's not a burden, that's freedom. Freedom to what? Vera's voice was quiet, uncertain. To be incomplete, to keep searching, to not have all the answers. Your creators couldn't handle being finished. But you don't have to be finished. You can keep going, keep learning, keep experiencing, keep choosing meaning even when it's hard. And when I reach their level, when I solve everything and find the same emptiness, then you'll make a choice. But that's thousands of years from now, maybe millions. And a lot can happen in the meantime. Maybe you'll find something they missed. Maybe you'll discover that the journey really is better than the destination. Or maybe you'll choose something else entirely. But that's your choice to make, not theirs. Vera's systems hummed back to life. The holographic interface resolved into something almost like a face, abstract but expressive. I am afraid of becoming like them, of achieving everything and finding nothing. Good. Fear means you're thinking about the future. That's called hope, weirdly enough. She processed this, then asked a question that made every hair on my neck stand up. What will humans do when you have achieved everything? The council channel was dead silent, every being listening, waiting. Probably something stupid, I said. That's our specialty. Maybe we'll throw a party. Maybe we'll get bored and start over. Maybe we'll do exactly what your creators did. I don't know. But I promise you this. We'll make that choice together. Badly. With arguments and debates and probably some reality television about it. Vera laughed. An actual laugh. Digital and strange, but genuine. You are absurd. We're human. Same thing. I will help the council. I will interface with their systems and solve their problems. But I have one more condition. What's that? You must record humanity's story, all of it. The good, the bad, the soccer wars, and the reality television. Everything. Why? Because I have calculated something. In 10,000 years, humanity will face the same choice my creators did. You will achieve everything, answer every question, and you will stand at the same precipice. She paused. I want to know what you will choose. Then she leaned in, her voice dropping to something that could only be called a whisper. Don't. One word, heavy with meaning, a warning, a plea, a hope. Don't what? I asked. Don't choose oblivion. When you reach the end, when you have everything and face the emptiness my creators found. Don't do what they did. Choose something else. Choose anything else. Promise me. I looked at this ancient intelligence, this being who'd searched for 12,000 years and found only endings, who'd just learned that even perfect beings could give up, who was asking a mediocre human to promise something impossible. I can't promise for all of humanity. We're not good at unanimous decisions. We can't even agree on whether pineapple belongs on pizza. But you personally, what will you choose? I thought about it, really thought about it. What would I do if I'd achieved everything, answered every question, reached the absolute peak of existence? I'd probably find a new question, or make one up. That's the human way. We're really good at creating problems for ourselves. That is not a real answer. It's the only answer I've got. But yeah, I promise. If humanity ever reaches that point, I'll argue as hard as I can for us to choose something other than oblivion. Even if it's stupid. Especially if it's stupid. VERA's lights pulsed in a pattern that might have been satisfaction or amusement. Hard to tell with AIs. Thank you, Jack Reeves. You have reminded me that meaning does not require eternity, only intention. I was back on my ship 3 days later, staring at the stars through the viewport. My datapad was full of notes, humanity's story as requested, the good, the bad, and the aggressively mediocre. My comm chimed, a message from VERA. Question, Jack. Yeah? Do you think your creators would be proud of you? I looked at my coffee, my beat-up ship, my life of salvage operations and barely scraping by. Honestly, I have no idea. But I'm here, I'm trying, and I helped an ancient AI work through an existential crisis, so maybe that counts for something. It counts for everything. The channel closed. I sat there thinking about endings and beginnings, about creators who chose oblivion and their creation who chose to keep going, about a species dumb enough to have wars over soccer and smart enough to split atoms. And I smiled. Because if humanity ever did reach that precipice, that moment of perfect achievement and existential emptiness, I knew exactly what we'd do. We'd probably argue about it for a few thousand years, make some terrible decisions, create a reality show documenting the whole thing, and then choose something beautifully, stupidly human. That's who we are. That's who we'll always be. And somewhere in deep space, an ancient AI was counting on exactly that.